If you've ever watched any halfway decent spy thriller film, you may have heard reference to truth serum. Most people used to believe that such a thing couldn't exist, but with more and more Cold War-era top-secret files becoming declassified, a great number of unpleasant realities of war came to light. The use of truth serum in the United States was declassified in 1996 when several CIA manuals came to light, showing that these had been used in widespread operations across the globe. Even as early as 1963, the Supreme Court ruled that confessions obtained through the use of truth serum were inadmissible as evidence. It was viewed as unconstitutional coercion. I found the subject fascinating and wanted to delve further into the potential horrors associated with truth serum. My research led me to track down, quite accidentally, what may have been the first use of truth serum worldwide. My first cursory glance at Wikipedia led me to the name Dr. William Blequin, who documented the first use of the drug in 1930, at least as a form of psychoanalysis. Not wanting to rely entirely upon Wikipedia, I decided to search through other, more scholar-friendly sites. What troubled me is that I was unable to find anything despite hours of exhaustive searching, at least nothing that seemed relevant. Princeton University's website was literally a copy pasta of the Wikipedia article, and the details of the man's life through Wikipedia was disappointingly boilerplate. Frustrated with my search, I decided to just drop any mention of truth serum from my query, and began to look for Blequin himself. One of the first pages to pop up was this strange Find a Grave website. Everything that I've said above is completely verifiable. You can probably repeat the exact same steps that I've done so far with little difficulty, but from here, it's where things get a little bit more complicated. Looking at the image of the gravesite for Blequin was little more than a bizarre way for me to put a cap on the night. I thought given the information I had uncovered, it would be somehow appropriate to see a virtual representation of the man where he was laid to rest. And there was the image with the large domed headstone reading Blequin. I saw a shadow hanging by the tree in the upper left-hand corner of the image, and I thought nothing of it until it moved. It went out of frame so fast that I was sure that it had just been a trick of the light, or I had simply imagined it. Nothing else was moving in the image, and everything was as it had been. So I just closed the image by clicking on the gray X in the upper right hand of the screen. But my browser was no longer on the Find a Grave website. What I was looking at was a 2-page document that looked like it had been handwritten. I tried printing it, but all that came out of my printer was the same Find a Grave website that I'd been on initially. I tried to screen capture the document, same problem. I took a picture of the screen with my digital camera, but the resolution was so shit that you could barely make out any of the words. I read every inch of that document, and I was considering moving to a Word document and trying to write it, but for some reason I felt compelled just to read, as if the document could be gone at any minute. I'm glad I did. Anyways, the report documents the first test use of this drug on Julius Rosenheim. I did a bit of research on him later, and it turns out that on February 4th, 1930, he was allegedly killed after turning into a police informant. There is suspiciously little else regarding the man's life, just as there was with Blequin's. Looking back at what I'd read, that adds a whole new level of what the fuckery to it, since the report lists the date as the first test on February 17th. Blequin confesses that the intention was to test the effectiveness of the truth serum and at the same time obtain valuable information about the mob. Rosenheim was concerned for his safety, and as such, the police set up an elaborate cover-up, replacing Rosenheim with an unnamed death row inmate to take the bullet for him. Now, Rosenheim was supposed to only remain in custody long enough for the New York Police Department to get information they needed. But that all changed after the truth serum took effect. The second page was a list of questions that Rosenheim was asked, and the answers that Rosenheim gave. The first two questions were fairly standard test questions. He was asked to verify his full name and his date of birth, both easily verifiable, and used as a sort of control. Think the same thing that happens to you when you take a polygraph test. But the next few questions I'll never forget. Forgive me if the wording is a bit inaccurate here, as this is coming from memory, but the conversation went something like this. Blequin, have you ever killed anybody? Rosenheim, we've all killed people. I'm no exception. Everybody who is alive today exists because billions of other potential lives do not. I am not a mass murderer when compared to the rest of the world. Blequin, have you ever killed anybody under the order of name withheld? Rosenheim, no. Blequin, name withheld, never ordered you to kill or harm anybody? Rosenheim, yes, he ordered me, but that was not why I killed them. Blequin, why did you kill them then? Rosenheim, because I was ordered to by him. Blequin, by name withheld? Rosenheim, no. By him that sleeps inside of us. Blequin, and who is he? Rosenheim, the one who watches and waits. Blequin, can you give me his name? Rosenheim, Julius Rosenheim. Blequin, that is your name. The next response is word for word. I will never forget it. Rosenheim, no. That is the name of the person whose body I'm using. Blequin, and who are you? At this point, the page ended. I searched desperately to see if there was more, but the document ended here. I finally, reluctantly, closed out of the page and found myself back on that Find a Grave website. Underneath the word Blequin, however, was something new. A scrawled note beneath it that read, "The truth shall set me free." I'm going to try and do some more research and see what I can come up with. There's still too many questions that haven't been answered yet. I'll post back in a couple of days.